Hi guys, and welcome to another Bootstrap 4 with brackets text editor video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. In our last video, if we just go down there, we created this little parallax section with some accordions with locations in them. And what we're going to do in this video is I want to add a hover effect to this image. So it scales up, basically gets bigger when we mouse over it. And I also want to make this slightly more interesting by having a Google map, a live Google map just underneath in this little box here. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's open our brackets text editor. Here's where we left off last time. Brackets is a free text editor. It's absolutely awesome, and you can download it from a link below this video if you don't have it, or you can just go to brackets.io and download it from there directly. And the files we're working on today will be our index.html. Here's our Bootstrap site folder. So we'll be working on the index.html file. And inside the CSS folder, we created a custom CSS file. We'll also be working on that in our text editor here. There's the index.html. There's the CSS file. To open them with brackets, just simply right click and open with brackets once you've got it installed. Or you can do it the other way of just like any other program, file and navigate to it and open it that way. Okay, so this is where we left off last time. Here's our little boxes, our accordion boxes that open when we hit that button. So let's work, we'll just get one right first and then we'll do the usual thing of doing the others afterwards. So here's the actual body. The button's up here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about back on the site. Okay, here's the button, obviously. When we click on it, here's the body. This is the body, and I want to target this image first of all to make it scale up, look a lot bigger, so people can see the image better when they hover over it. So let's go back to our brackets. Now to do that, we're going to want, here's the image right here, and to do that we're going to want to target this image. So let's give its div, the container that's holding it, a class. And I guess I'll give it the class of LOC, why not? For location, because this is called locations. I don't think I've used that class before. If I have, this won't work. I don't think I have. So I've given it the class of LOC. Save that. Control S to save. Now we can go to our custom CSS, so we can target the div lock by doing period LOC, and I'll do this in just a second. And then we want to target this image here, so we can do lock dot lock img. So let's do that. Here's our custom CSS. If we scroll down to the bottom where we left off, here's our locations section. So let's just go down, and because it's a class and not an ID, we need a period. If it was an ID, we need a hashtag, but it's not, it's a class, so it's period LOC. That's targeting that div that we called lock, and we want to target the image that was in it, so it's img. If we look, just to prove what I'm saying here, here's the div lock, and there's the image img, so we're targeting a lock image, hopefully. No, I'm kidding, we are, it's fine. So open and close some curly brackets, and what do we want it to do? Well, basically we want it to do something when we hover over it. So at the moment, if I put something in here, it's going to do it to the image itself. So Just hold that for 1 second, hold that thought. Let's copy it, put it below. Now after image, I'm going to put a colon, and really importantly, no space. So it's colon, no space, hover. This way, it's going to target that image only when it's hovered over. Now we're going to use this in a minute, so I'm just going to leave that there with nothing in it. Now what do I want it to do? I want it to grow, I don't know, about 3 times the size. How big is it? Yeah, 3 times 1 times 2, so it'll be about this big. If we scale it 3 times, we can always change it, so let's just try that. On hover, okay, let's say transform scale. So it's transform, colon, and no space again. Scale, it's actually prompted us there, but if it hadn't, you just write scale and open and close some round brackets, and in those brackets is how much we want it to scale by. So we want it to scale 3 times. We need to give it 2 attributes, because a bit like padding, the first 2 sort of height, or top and bottom, and the next one's width. It may be the other way around, I can't remember, but you need to give it 2. Soon find out. If you put different attributes in it, it'll change those. Actually, I don't need a comma behind that, and let's put a semicolon behind that. Control S to save, and let's take a look now. Once I refresh and open this, when I hover over that image, it should, so you see it's gone to 3 times as large, but it's doing it a little bit quickly. Plus it's behind our button there, so we want to fix that. But firstly, let's make that scale a little bit smaller. I mean, let's make that scale a little bit slower, so it doesn't just flash in like that. Let's make it ease in. And secondly, let's perhaps give it a bit of box shadow or something to make it stand out a little bit more. So let's do that. Let's go back to our CSS. And we'll give it a box shadow. Make it stand out just a little bit more. One I kind of use for this is 5 by 5 by 15 or 20, and give it a sort of grey colour in the background. Let's try 333. That may be too dark, I don't know. And we need to slow it down. It's instant at the moment, so we'll give it a transition duration of, I don't know, let's say 1.5 seconds, 1.5 seconds. Let's try that. Now let's refresh, open our box. That's better. Okay, let's see our image. I like the transition, but our image has obviously got some padding around it, and the box shadow is actually, you know, it's sort of framing it, if you will, with that bit of padding there. So we need to change that. Let's have a look at our code. Let's go back to our index.html. And here's our image. There's that bit of padding, the P2 there. Let's delete that. And let's actually give the image itself a bit of margin to the right, because what that was doing, let's just save that, Control S, is giving it I don't want to hover. It's giving it that bit of space between the text and the image there. So what I'll do, I've taken that P2 off. If we refresh again, I think I saved it. You see it's right up against it there, and we don't want that. So I'm going to give that image a margin right of, you see now that padding's taken away, the drop shadow is actually behind the image rather than behind the frame. So I'll just give it a margin right, and that should space out that bit of text right there. So let's go back and do that quickly. So here's our image. I think I'll put it before here, because we've actually got to do something in a minute to keep put some vendor prefixes in for the transition duration. But okay, margin, we want it on the right hand side, and let's say we don't want too much of a margin. Let's give it 10 pixels. That should probably do it. Let's go back to our site. Did save that, didn't I? Yes. Refresh once again. There we go. We've got a margin on the right, that 10 pixels. It's giving it that space again. That's scaling up nicely, but we don't want this button in front of it. We want that button behind it. So how can we fix that? I think we can do it with what they call a Z index, and pull it forward. Let's do that. Let's open our CSS again. Now here's what we want it to do. We want to bring it to the front, and we should be able to do that with a Z index command, or a Z index, however you like to say it. And this should pull it forward, and we'll give it a number of 1. Some people like to use 9999. It usually works when I put a 1 in there. We'll see. And position, we'll make sure it's got an absolute position. There, it's prompted us. I'll just use that. Good. And make sure we put a semicolon after it, else it will not work. Now let's save this, go back to our site, and hopefully that would have fixed that. Before we refresh, let's have a look. You see it's behind that button, and we want it to be in front of that button. So let's refresh, and hopefully when I open it up and hover over it now, it should be in front of that button. Let's have a look. There we go. That's what we wanted. Okay, I think we're happy with that. Next thing I want to do is put a Google map underneath here with the location. So let's go back to our index.html. And here's our image, here's our text. So it's going to want to go underneath there. And adding a Google map is pretty easy. What we want to do is go to Google, funnily enough, and just write in maps. Hit enter, Google Maps. Let's put in a location of, gosh, I don't know. I don't know any locations in. Let's do the Empire State Building, I guess. There we go. And it brings up a nice map with a pin. We'll pretend that's our restaurant. And to embed it, what we want to do is come over here to the share button and hit the embed map tab that comes up here. Now here's our code. I want to copy that, Control C. Go back to our index.html in our brackets. Just paste that where we left our cursor after our text last time. There it is right there. Now the only thing I want to change here is I want to put the width, instead of 600, I want it to be 100%. So it'll be 100% of the div that it's located inside of. And the height's 450. That may be more than I want. Let's change that to 300. Well, let's just take a look at that first and see what it's going to do. So let's save, Control S, and go back to our site. Refresh. Boom, there we have it. And there's our Google map, and it's a live Google map, so you just need to hit Control and you can scroll in and scroll out. So that would be our restaurant location. It is a little bit bigger than I want. I think let's make sure that's still on the top of it. Yeah, that's still going to be on the top of it. Let's make it smaller. Let's make it about this big. So I'm guessing perhaps 300 pics. Let's go to our index.html. And the height, let's just make that 300. Save, Control S. Refresh once again. Open it up. There we are, that's a little bit better. Yeah, I like that better. Our image still works on top of it. So there you have it. You've got an accordion with a nice little box with some text. I guess you could put your address or whatever you want to put in there, your details and phone number. And you've got a live Google map inside there as well. Now I'm just going to pause this and I'll populate all of these so they're the same as this, because at the moment they're just the one that we had initially. And I'll change the images on each one. I will be right back. Okay, so I've added that class of lock to each of the card bodies here. I've changed the image on each one, and I've added a Google map for each one there. I just want to tidy this code up just a little bit more here. Why it's so unstructured, but that's okay. Just doing Shift Tab to bring it more in line, and Tab to push it back the other way. Okay, it's a little bit better. Save that. Let's take a look at what we've got here. There's the map I just put in. Let's refresh this. Now when we open each one, they should have their own image that opens and their own map of the area there. Okay, I didn't take off the P2, so all these are going to be the same there. Let's just show Buckingham Palace, Paris, and Tokyo. Okay, let's just fix that problem that we got with these images there. I didn't take the padding off the index there, so let's quickly debug that. There it is, it's that P2 there. We want to make sure we've got that off of everyone. So delete that, making sure not to delete anything else. Don't want to delete those inverted commas at the end because that will break things. Okay, now let's save that, go back, see if we've got it right this time. Do a refresh. Okay, New York worked, London That's better. That's more like we wanted. Paris. Yep, that's working correctly now. Tokyo. Good. So that's exactly what we wanted. So there it is. There's our little parallax section with our accordions, our Google Maps, and our scaling images. So I hope you found that useful. If you have, please like the video and feel free to share it. And also, please subscribe to our channel. If you're interested in web development, take one of our courses below. We've got some huge discounts for our YouTube subscribers. There's also some great free courses down there, so check it out. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.